This week's podcast is brought to you by Eco Water of Marshall. Your better water starts here. Finding the perfect solution for your water starts with identifying the problem. Eco Water, backed by nearly a century of expertise and innovation, can help. Call the professionals at Eco Water in Marshall today, 507-532-6547. Your water perfected.
Welcome, everyone, to the 9th edition of the Headlight Hot Seat. Today we are honored to be joined by Mr. Heath Radke. You might not recognize his face, but you certainly will recognize his voice. So let's hear it. Let's hear it, Heath.
They say I have a face for radio.
Same. I have a face for the paper.
How's it going?
Good, Heath. Thanks for coming in today. We've overcome some technical glitches to bring you this broadcast today, and I don't know. It's not a broadcast. It's a, what is it? A
Streaming.
Streaming. I don't know. Yeah, broadcast. Let's go with podcast because that's what this is.
Sure.
Heath, why don't you start this off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I work at the radio stations in Marshall Radio, which is owned by Subarctic Media, which is a bigger company that's kind of family of the people that originally started the business back in 1946 in Marshall. So long-standing family tradition, although the name is kind of changed and ebbed and flowed a little bit. We're still local. We're still radio and having a fun time doing it. I've worked there since actually just this week, had my 22-year workiversary.
Whoa.
So I've been at Marshall for 22 years, which blows my mind a little bit. But
that blows my mind, too. That's right. Good. That's impressive.
So I've been there since, it was 03. And so worked on KMHL for most of that time, worked on Cars and KKCK. Also got Carl, of course, which we have all of our Tracy broadcasts on, and also KNSG, which is the Fan. So we've got 5 stations, do commercials, do on-air work, and all kinds of fun stuff up there. I live here in Tracy with my wife, Heather. You folks might know her. She's worked at the nursing home here in Tracy way back when, over in Ballatin at the nursing home, Colonial Manor, and then has worked in Marshall the last handful of years before she took a job with MINRA and works there. It's now Minnesota's Aging Pathways, it's called. So we've figured that out. They just recently changed the name, but she loves that, works from home, has a fun time helping folks in that same community that she's worked in for a long time. We moved here in 2004, live right in town. Raised all 4 of our kids here in town, gone to the Tracy schools. Trayton is 22. He lives in Fargo. He's just started a teaching job this fall for the first time, so he's pretty excited about that, teaching 6th grade science. He just got engaged a handful of weeks ago, so he's excitedly planning a wedding, and we're sitting back and letting them do their thing, which is fun to see them spread their wings and fly. So when the need for money arises, there is a QR code at the bottom of this podcast. You can click on and send us some wedding funds if you'd be so kind.
Weddings are not cheap.
No, they're not.
You could go the elope route.
We've offered all those things.
Oh, you did?
None of it's worked so far.
No, not a taker, huh?
We're excited to have Olivia into our family in the near future. Then we've got Espen. He's 19. He's going to his 2nd year of college at Southwest in Marshall for exercise science. We've got Cohen, who's a sophomore, who just earned his driver's permit this week. So more excitement. I think he's going to be in the Cinderella musical this fall, so he's excited for that, running cross country. Thanks for the nice article you put together about him last week in the paper. That was neat. And then McKaylee's our youngest. She's in 3rd grade, and she's a Spitfire. So I'm going through the whole 3 boys and now trying to figure out girl. It's been a little tricky.
When you figure it out, let me know.
Yeah. So
I did that with Olivia, and it is a different world.
Yeah, for sure.
Very much so.
That's us. We've got a dog and a cat and a partridge and a pear tree, I guess.
Nice.
We love living in Tracy here.
So you work 2 shifts at the radio station every day?
Well, so the magic of radio. Here we go. So on most days I'm in Marshall, Monday through Friday. There early in the morning to be on KMHL, the morning shift there, and work that until 10 o'clock. Well, during that time, through the magic of radio, I'll record what's going to play on Cars in the afternoon. So if you hear that, it's a little bit of a time shift or voice tracked show, we call it. So I'm doing it, but I'm just not always right there in the seat. So
I see.
That's radio's changed quite a bit in that regard. That
Mm-hmm.
there's not always someone there, although we do our best to make you believe that there is.
And you do a lot from your home, don't you? Like for the weather stuff, when bad
Yeah.
weather's coming up.
Boy, technology.
You don't you don't zoom over during a storm to Marshall from Tracy.
No. The technology's come so far. We used to do games over a telephone line or a cell phone or things like that, and it sounded that way. Through the internet now, we can do all kinds of good things. I can actually go on the air through my phone if I really needed to or wanted to. We've got technology that way. I've got a small studio set up in my house. So, if I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and there's a blizzard and I'm not going to drive to Marshall through that.
It's not a man cave, it's a studio.
Yeah, it's not a very fancy setup, as most radio stations aren't, which people are hard to believe that. But microphone, computer, mic amp, that's basically it. And then the tie line that we use to connect. So, severe weather times, a lot of times, this summer we've had a lot of that. I'm at home most often. One night I was even in Faribault and was able to call in and connect and help out because poor Ryan was on the air by himself doing severe weather the night those tornadoes were up by Gary and Clear Lake, South Dakota. And I happened to give him a holler and say, "Do you need some help?" He'd say, "That'd be great." Because he'd been on for like 6 or 7 hours straight.
Do you have your own radar, or do you use your phone? Or
yeah, I've got a few things on my computer, and I've got a few things on my phone. So we've got some subscriptions that we have that it's a little bit more in-depth stuff. But it's technologies. I learned to splice tape and queue up records.
22 years ago?
Longer than that ago.
Spinning the hits?
Yeah. Hot stacks of wax from the top
There
of the
you
racks,
go.
as they say. So,
Nice.
yeah, the technology in radio has come a long way to help us do a lot of good things. When we go to ball games now, it sounds like we're right there in your living room. So it's pretty cool.
You wouldn't know the difference.
Right, exactly.
And technology has changed my industry as well. The
for sure.
Like, you wouldn't even believe when you say splicing, that was the equivalent to us going back to the office and developing film in the dark.
Right.
And, no one, now it's like, I try to explain that to the younger generation and they're looking at me like, what's film?
Right.
Because it's all on a digital camera and you had to drive back from a football game on a Friday night and pray that you got at least one usable shot. Now we can instantaneously look.
Right.
I got that one or I missed that one. So
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Let's go back. Let's go back those 2 decades to your first radio experience, Heath, and
Sure.
tell us about how you got started in this industry.
Well, it actually started when I was in high school. I was taking guitar lessons from a guy named Jeff Erickson. People might remember him. He was on the radio over in Slayton for a while, and he did ball games, and we had a guitar lesson one afternoon. He's like, "Oh, I'm going over to Comfrey tonight. You going to the game?" "Yeah, I'm going to head over there." "You want to ride with us and take stats?" "Oh, sure, yeah, that'd be fine. Save me some gas money. That's awesome." So I went with him and sat and took stats. And at halftime, he handed me the headset and said, "All right, tell everybody who scored what." And I'm sure I had during the Headlights look going on.
You're like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. But put the headset on and stumbled through who scored what. And that was kind of it. I was hooked. I was like, "This is great. This is awesome." And it was all my friends, that were classmates and these were playing basketball. So it was wonderful. So yeah, that was over in Slayton where I grew up. Sorry, I grew up on the.
Yeah.
It was right on the line. We were a mile away from the Tracy School District, so the people just to the north of us went to school in Tracy, and I had to go south to Slayton. So
I was going to try to avoid the Slayton piece, but since you introduced it, I'll let it slide. But that was you were a Wildcat back then, right? Or were you?
Well, I was a Wildcat when I was little. Then in '92, the Chandler Lake Wilson tornado came and hurried things along. We were actually going to join forces in sports before that, but we had it all set up so the name was there and all these things, the hoops that were kind of jumped through already. So then the tornado just said, "All right, we're going to just put you guys together here."
So you were a Wildcat and a Rebel.
I was, yeah.
And I was a Scrapper and a Panther.
Exactly.
So
See,
we got
how it
a
goes.
lot more in common than I thought.
Wow.
Let's talk sports. Let's talk play-by-play. You mentioned how you got into it, how you broke in. By the way, do you still play guitar? Did that stick? Did the lesson stick?
Absolutely.
Nice. Okay.
I've got a few guitars at home.
The next podcast we have, you're going to bring it.
Rock talk, yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm sorry I interrupted myself that time,
You're
but
good.
the play-by-play stuff and covering the area and mainly TMB and your later, I mean, you started out, you were Minneota RTR, you were doing the whole round, right?
Yep. So my first radio job out of college, and actually was my internship too, is I worked in Slayton at the radio station there, which is connected to Pipestone. So we did, play-by-play for many MCC's ball games and did that for a lot of years. Did some sales there, did some on-air work in the mornings there as well. So we did the play-by-play there. It happened in 2003 that they had an opening in Marshall, and I had worked part-time there when I was in college, so I kind of knew the people there a little bit. And when the opportunity arose, they gave me a call and said, "Hey, we've got a spot. Would you be interested in maybe coming up and talking about it?" So, yeah, absolutely. I did, and I'd never done a game by myself, but the first game that they said, "All right, you're hired. You're going to go down to Mountain Lake and call the Minneota game tonight."
And this is no experience under your belt. Well, a little bit.
A little bit, but not doing play-by-play. I
Right.
was always doing kind of color commentary and
Okay.
taking stats and that kind of thing. So go down to Mountain Lake and climb the ladder into that ugly old press box, and that was my first night calling a game. We've got a CD of it at the radio station somewhere that people like to pull out and taunt me with every now and again. But
That is an archive. We call that in my business.
yeah, exactly. So that was where it started. In the first handful of years I was up there, I did a lot of the area teams. So Minneota, RTR, Lakeview, Canby. We did a lot of Canby games back in that day. Those were the teams that I mostly got to cover because there was already somebody down here doing the Tracy games, so they were still doing that. And then, so I kind of got spoiled a little bit because RTR, they had their 2 state championship boys teams. I did Wabasso girls basketball. They won a state championship. And I'm thinking, wow, this is great. And then Springfield won state football championship at the Metrodome. And I was getting to go to all these cool places and call these really great games and just having a good old time. And thought that that's how it was all the time. It's not, but it's a lot of fun. And then opportunity came to do the games here, which was super because you're driving back and forth to all these different games, and it's late nights and early mornings. And boy, if half that time I can be at home and drive 10 blocks to get to my house to be done with the night, that was good. So
you always lived in Tracy through all these travels you did?
through most of that. Yeah, when we moved to town in 2004. So right away when I started in Marshall, we still lived down by Slayton, but for the most part, we were here in town. So get the chance to do Tracy games, and I was just looking back at things. It was 2006-07 was the first year that I got to do some Tracy stuff. So football and volleyball, I did a little bit, and then worked with Marshall, doing Marshall games there because they were always really good. Terry Culhane had gone up there by then, and getting to do that, and then basketball, and then hockey came along, and they're like, hockey? I'm like, nope. Great, you're gonna do wonderful. Go for it. They gave me a book. Basically, it was Hockey for Dummies. And
oh my goodness!
I watched some North Star games, but that was about it to my hockey experience. I got thrown to the wolves there, but Mike Leary and Marshall was doing some color commentary and helped me along the way, so that was fun. I got to learn something new. And then, of course, baseball and softball in the spring. So
you did play-by-play for hockey, not color?
Yeah, play-by-play.
Ooh.
So I had to
thrown into the deep end.
Exactly.
My gosh.
And actually that's probably the most fun of the sports to call play-by-play for because it is just nonstop until the whistle blows, and you got to be on the top of your game and know who's who and what's what, and that's a lot of fun. The good thing about radio is, at that time nobody was watching; it was just all listening. So. One guy said, if you can't dazzle them with the stats, baffle them with the BS. So we work through that once in a while. But
words to live by.
Right, exactly. So pretty fun.
You talk about you kind of led a charmed life with RTR in Springfield and Wabasso. That carried over to the Panthers too.
Yeah.
Because we all know about the volleyball team success starting the basketball team started in the late 80s and carrying through with Terry, and the volleyball team with Terry again. You got to know these girls really well a couple of those years, didn't you? The Sid Lanu class, the Kaylee Kirks, the Carbos.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Those girls got to the state tournament. They'd kind of had some success on the volleyball court and some heartbreak, too. So it's fun to see that, and then to get them to, over that hump and off to the state tournament was fun. Basketball, same way for those girls. For the guys, there was the 2 state tournament football teams that, finally got over that hump and got off to state. It didn't fare so well, unfortunately, once they got there in either case. But just to say, hey, we won the section championship for those kids was fun. And, by that time, I'd gotten to know kids and families pretty well. These were little kids when we moved to town, and all of a sudden here they are, and our kids know them, and they know our kids. And it was fun to, interact with them on a level that was different than, I watched some, great football player Kyle Manette over at RTR, but I never really got to know him or his family. You just kind of saw him in passing and said hello. The Haley Hennon up in Minneota, Haley Fruin now, great player, but you get to know him a little bit, but not to the level that you get to know the kids that are in your hometown, basically. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun to see them have success. And you get to know them a little bit because we go out and have them say, hey, this is Gabby Gervais, and you're listening to Panther Volleyball, Carl 105. So you get to, have that interaction with those kids and get to know them a little bit. And
well,
fun.
I can appreciate what you're talking about with the relationships you develop with coaches and players.
Yep.
And it's, you earn their trust. You have to earn their trust first. Because if you screw up on the radio or if I screw up in a story in the paper, then you get to kind of, oh gosh, I got to talk to Heath or I got to talk to Pierre.
Right.
And that's one of the best parts of my job is getting to know these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, through sports. And I've gotten to develop a lot of relationships, with the Trevor Smiths of the world and some of the wrestlers. Devin Carter comes to mind. That's got to be I'm assuming that's something you really appreciate, what you took from your job there.
Yeah, for sure. The coaches, that part of it, like you say, you build a rapport and a trust with those people that they're going to spew their coach speak when they get out of the microphone, but then we shut that off and say, all right, now what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Then
the fun begins.
Tell you about what this team's bringing or, what we're going to be up against here. And so that's fun. You build good relationships with those people and friendships in many cases too. So it's the fun part of the job is to get to know the people, just like what you do. You get to know people and their stories, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very much a perk.
Yeah,
we need perks in these careers because we're not going to get rich.
Nope.
I gave that dream up 35 years ago. It's not going to happen. So at least I'm going to be able to go to games free,
right?
Get to know some cool kids and some nice coaches and everything. So you don't do it anymore. You don't do the traveling anymore, really.
No, I get this question. Like, you miss doing the games?
Yeah.
I miss the fun of doing a game. Yeah, that's a good time. There's really been only one time that I really miss. Oh man, I wish I'd have been doing the game. We were up in the cold and out in the snow and the blowing up in Moorhead for a football game, and our oldest Trayton was on the team, and that was his only touchdown he ever had was in that game. So
was that the COVID year?
Yeah, it would have been 21.
Okay,
something like that.
Because I know they were trying
20.
to schedule
It
games.
would have been 20. Yep.
And they found this game way up north, that's
we played War Road actually. They drove down to Moorhead, and we drove up to Moorhead.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but that was the only time that I really missed, doing the game. Because it was him scoring a touchdown, and that would have been pretty cool to tell the story of.
Pretty good call there.
And then B, that I was cold in the press box, usually nice and toasty warm.
Yeah, I know. And I'll tell you, I know that newspaper people are tougher than you guys because we have to stand on the sidelines and get snowed on and rained on. And I often look up when it's 34 degrees outside or the rain is pelting me. Like look up at the booth and there's a radio guy in the comfy confines of the Panther press box.
Taking off his sweatshirt because it's so hot
it's so warm in there, and I've given Carlson crap for that too because he's always up there and doing the Panther first down call and everything. But for me, it's sitting out in the elements. My back is hurting, my legs are tired, my body's mad at me, and we persevere though.
Yeah, I can remember you down. There was a monsoon once upon a time when the black and blue game with MCC and Tracy was going on. And I looked, there's Perry in his rain suit and trying to keep his camera from getting wrecked. And it was a miserable night that weather-wise. But we were good in the press box, just so you know.
Well, good thing there wasn't any leaks in that press box, because you might have gotten a raindrop on you. Heaven forbid.
Oh, we'd have melted. We're so sweet.
Best part about your job, Heath. We talked a lot about the relationships you build, but is there anything else that you look back on? And it doesn't have to be the play-by-play stuff. Even currently today, what do you enjoy about it? Because I know you get there early, and that's not always fun because you're still waking up when you're talking on the radio. But what do you like? What keeps you doing it?
Well, it's like we're saying, getting to know people and the relationship that you build. So in the last handful of years, when our ownership situation got shuffled around a little bit, they were reorganizing what they were doing, and they were doing it the way they wanted to do it. And so I had to figure out, okay, how do I fit into this puzzle? And back when I started, I had some experience in doing sales down in Slayton. Had a great mentor in Joe Laton. I should mention him. He's
Oh yeah, I knew Joe well.
Love that guy. But I mean, he gave me so much knowledge and wisdom. Mylan Ray over there in Pipestone, Bernie Weemy, those guys were just great. Taking care of a young guy like me. I had some really not great experiences in sales there, dealing with some people, but I had that in my back pocket. So I said, hey, I'd be interested in giving this a shot if I still want to do some on-air stuff, but if I can do some sales too, I'd be willing to give it a go. And they were all for it. And so I've gotten to, after not doing sports for a couple of years, come back to having a relationship with people and going out and talking to businesses and, helping them tell their stories and build their brands and do the things that their marketing does for them. So that's been a lot of fun. I really have enjoyed getting back to that because I did miss the people part of going out to ball games. Otherwise, it's like sitting in a padded room and talking to yourself all day, basically.
Well, that's interesting because I'm going to make a huge assumption here, but I would think most radio guys are kind of introverted, and they don't really like to be out with the masses, and you are opposite of that.
Well, yeah, I put on a good show. How about that?
You fake it.
Fake it till you make it. I'd rather sit at home and read and do some sports viewing and things like that.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy getting to know people and getting out there and talking with them, and it is a lot of fun. But again, it's nice to sit in my cozy little studio and talk to myself all day long.
It's nice it's funny when you talk about your name dropping right now with Joe and Mylan. You picture their voices, not their faces.
Right, exactly.
They're iconic voices, and that's a big word. But around here, and probably the same with you and the guys who do, your colleagues who do games.
Well, you go back to, we were talking a little while ago before we went on about Jerry Marquardt. I sit in the chair that Jerry Marquardt sat in for all those years, and I'm talking to the
Literally?
microphone. Yeah, I mean,
That's the chair?
This is the studio he was in every morning doing the flea market and, doing the birthdays and doing all the things that Jerry did so well and was so beloved for. So, I mean, he's one of those guys that's just a legend again, too. And I'm getting to, follow in the footsteps a little bit of him. And it's a real honor because, we don't take lightly what we get to do. Severe weather is a perfect example. I mean, it never happens at a good time, but we've got a good team of guys that are willing to hop into the studio and make sure that people know what's going on because the internet's great until it doesn't work.
Yep.
And then what?
Yeah.
So we've got the ability to make sure that people have the information that they need. And we take that seriously, and it's a lot of fun.
And you have to. I mean, I know you have a lot of fun on the radio, but it's like you pivot when there's severe weather.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's information that newspapers can't deliver.
Right.
It's up to the radio. And you guys, like you said, I think it's appreciated that you do take that seriously. And, maybe nothing will happen from a storm, but you see a hook echo or something in South Dakota and, maybe it's coming our way. So,
Yeah. And we've got, with our stations, we cover such a large territory because 99.7 cars. I mean, you can drive to Arlington, South Dakota, and out towards DeSmet, and you're still getting cars.
You're still picking that up, huh?
And then you can go to New Ulm, and you're listening to KKCK. So, I mean, that's quite a swath of territory that we've got to try to cover and bring the information to everybody that's inside of that. So sometimes we get a little hassle from somebody who's, down by Stoughton, and they're hearing us talk about what's going on in Clear Lake and Gary.
Yeah.
we operate in the public interest, and that's what we got to do.
Has it always been that wide of an area? You cast that big net?
Yeah.
Or is it technology has changed it? Or?
No, it's always been that big.
Okay.
99.7 is, long ago was KKCK, but that transmitter's up on the Buffalo Ridge, north of Lake Benton. So that shoots into South Dakota and all across southwest Minnesota. The transmitter for 94.7 now is over by Wabasso. So, I mean, that's even those two transmitter sites are way far apart. So it's a big group of territory. That 94.7 signal we required, back right around the time that I started in Marshall. So that at that time we added that territory that direction.
So I asked you what you like most about your job, and you didn't mention the live interviews. And I'm curious, when I do my interviews with my recorder, it's live there, but it's not live because it's just if someone flubs up, they can, don't print that, or
Sure.
let's start over, make me look smart, whatever. And I can come back and then craft my story. But for you, when you do live interviews in studio or at the fair, for example, you don't get another take because it's live.
Yeah, no, it's the real deal a lot of times. Sometimes we'll record some stuff and we can clean things up. But most of the time when we're talking to somebody, it's live, real deal right now here. And that's intimidating to a lot of people. I'm sitting here, lean back in my chair and just having a good old time. But talking on the radio, boy, some folks are real scared of that.
Yeah, well, it's a mental thing, I'm sure.
Oh, it's just like public speaking or anything else. It's just you're not comfortable with it, you're not comfortable with it. But what I do is I try to make sure that they're comfortable as I can make them. Because I'm not here to fire gotcha questions at you.
Yep.
We're going to talk about what you do, what you've got going on. It's all stuff you know. Just pretend the microphones aren't here and we're just having a conversation. So trying to put people at ease is the biggest thing because some people are just not comfortable with it. And inevitably you run into somebody that's like, you ask a question, they're like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Or even worse, shaking
their head.
Yeah, we're on the radio. That doesn't translate well.
Yeah, for those of you listening, Heath was shaking his head.
Thank you, Pierre.
We'll try to depict that in some way. But the Tracy Show, I got to ask you about that to close. You're following some pretty big footsteps with Mr. Tracy Conradmer, the late Conradmer. We all miss very much. When you talk about having fun on the radio, that's got to be the ultimate when you're talking fun.
Yeah.
I mean, just the banter, the back and forth with you and Greg. Talk about that and how that got started with you and Greg.
So, I mean, like you say, I stepped into it. For a lot of years, Jerry did that show, and I had people. There was actually a studio here in Tracy over by the Hollywood Ballroom that people would go into and talk to the folks in Marshall that way. Then we went to telephone, and so a lot of years, Robert Gervais did it as the EDA director, and the chamber. We had a number of directors that have done it over the years. And, we had Khan on forever, which was so much fun. He's a guy I miss all the time because of I always, it comes up, Canada Day comes around in the calendar. And I think of him because he wouldn't say a word when you came on the air. He'd just start belting out, "Oh, Canada." It was just so much fun.
And there's another voice.
Right.
Khan's laugh and the guttural laugh he had. And he had so much fun. And I think people recognize on the radio when you do have fun.
Right.
And you so enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do is with the Tracy Show. Greg and I, we've got kids that are about the same age. We're dads. We are experiencing fatherhood in all kinds of different ways. He's got 3 boys. I had 3 boys and then had a girl.
I was going to say, you kind of one-upped him with McKaylee, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we share stories back and forth. Our youngest is in the same class as their youngest. And, Cohen and Nolan play sports together and all these different things. So we're sharing similar experiences, and a lot of people that are listening had kids or have grandkids or whatever and know these things happen.
Yeah.
You're just sharing real life and being real transparent. Sometimes it's not wonderful. Sometimes it's great. But
you put the parent in transparent?
Yeah, so we tried.
I just came up with
Thank
that,
you.
by the way.
That was clever right there.
Thank you.
But being real. I mean, and having fun doing it. You try to find the humorous angle in these things, but just sharing real life and Tracy, because that show's directed at what's going on here. And, if our kids are running cross country or playing football or baseball or whatever, we talk a little bit about that and how the little kids do. And, because those games never make the radio sportscast. So
No.
we get to share that stuff a little bit. So it's a lot of fun.
When did Dad Joke Friday start?
Oh, boy. I don't know a time that it started, but it was Greg's idea.
It was Greg's idea.
Yep, it was. He, said one day, hey, what if we did this? And I said, well, yeah, I've got a bunch of dad jokes. So we shared just, a couple back and forth the first few times. Got some feedback that it was a good thing and said, okay, well, maybe we need to make this a regular thing. And so we did.
What was what feedback? Just like people laughed at the jokes?
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah?
I remember at Boxcar Days one year, somebody said, oh, man, I was just laughing in the tractor. It was so great to hear this joke. And he rattled off whatever joke it was and loved it. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to one-up this a little bit. So I sent an email off to our big voice guy that does the voiceover stuff on our stations. And Chris Rollins shot me back some stuff, and it's time for Dad Joke Friday.
Oh, fun.
And then put Greg and my names in there. And Heath Radke and Greg Carlson. The first time he heard that, I think he was laughing about ready to pee his pants. He thought that was just great. So that went on for a bit, and then finally we found a sponsor. Our good pals over at Prairie View Senior Living said, hey, that's great. Let's sponsor that. So they've sponsored that ever since. So it's been a lot of fun. It's challenging to come up with a lot of good dad jokes.
Yeah.
We get some folks shoot us a text message or an email or, call us up and say, hey, you should tell this one.
Got one.
Our kids at home, Michaela will often say, hey, Dad. She actually reads the Highlights magazine, which is still a thing.
It's very nice.
And she says, oh, have you used this one before? And we're getting to the point where a lot of times people come with them and like, oh, yeah, we'll use that. I try not to double up. I know we do every once in a while, but we try to find new and interesting ones. And we write all our own material, too.
Of course you do. Your daughter writes it. I didn't know. I loved Highlights when I was a kid. They have dad jokes in there now.
They do, I guess. Or the little joke section. I don't know if they technically call them dad jokes, but yeah. Well, I'm trying to find the upside down pencil in the search picture, and she's rattling off these jokes at me.
Where's the donkey head?
Oh, goodness. Those are tough.
Well, we'll close on that, Heath. You are off the hot seat. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Perry. Appreciate it.
This week's podcast was brought to you by Eco Water of Marshall. Your better water starts here. Finding the perfect solution for your water starts with identifying the problem. Eco Water, backed by nearly a century of expertise and innovation, can help. Call the professionals at Eco Water in Marshall today, 507-532-6547. Your water perfected.